Up next, we've got an interesting clip of former CNN personality Jeffrey Toobin defending COVID-19 vaccine mandates in an episode of the PBD Podcast. Take a listen to this exercise in mental gymnastics.
And I'm sorry, I'm a complete hardliner on this.
Tell me what you mean by that.
Because is that, you know, in at CNN and at Fox, you were not allowed in the building unless you were vaccinated.
You think that's the right thing to do?
I thought it was exactly the right
Tell me
thing
why.
to do. Because it's a communicable disease that you could reduce your risk to yourself and to the people around you to a scientific certainty. And that was a rule that was excellent, and I was glad CNN had that rule. I'm sure the people at Fox were glad they had that rule. And you know, again, this is not, you know, you're allowed to have opinions about anything you want, but at some point, when your opinions put other people at physical risk, as you know, vaccine denial did.
I just can't believe people are still making this argument in June of 2023.
I just can't believe that a man who is most famous for getting caught on Zoom with his pants down and jerking off is calling himself a hardliner. Like, I can't. It's too funny.
Yeah.
I couldn't really think about anything else past that for a solid 10 seconds of this. But let me recover. I'm sorry, guys. I'm a high school boy. But anyways, they are absurd. They really won't admit any error or any fault. They are sticking to their guns. And they had hardly any credibility left after this whole 3-year debacle with the pandemic policies they tried to put into place. But if they wanted to salvage any bit of credibility, any sort of reputation and move forward with, they would show intellectual humility. They would apologize. They would admit error. But nope, not a single one of them, really. I mean, I really don't know of anybody I can point to who's come out and just like, man, really messed that up, really got that wrong. You and I have said all along, we were not anti-vaccine. I'm still not an anti-vaccine person, even remotely. We've both gotten the COVID vaccine. I did it more, to be honest, for convenience because of the rules they put into place. I didn't really think I needed it. I do begrudge the fact that I sort of felt I had to get it just to do my job and continue traveling and living my life. I fortunately was not forced to get it. I know many people who were basically forced to get it because of their jobs. I do think that there are valid concerns with some people who've had very bad reactions to it or side effects. And at the end of the day, that kind of decision over what to put in your body should have always been left up to individuals to evaluate the information and to decide what was best for them to do in their own specific situations.
New.
Mandates were always
unethical.
Something
new. We didn't have the complete information, and yet they were forcing it. And this logic doesn't work. The logic that you don't have the freedom to put other people in danger. Maybe that logic works with some other vaccines, but the COVID-19 vaccine very clearly does not stop, or at this point, I'm not even sure if it reduces transmission of the virus, but it still spreads quite a bit, whether you're vaccinated or not. So it doesn't have any externality impact, right? Like my ability I don't put you more or less in danger if I'm vaccinated or not and you're around me. What is true, and what still appears to be true, is that the vaccines were highly effective at reducing hospitalization and death, but that's an individual benefit. That means if it works, you get it and you're protected. You don't need to worry about what anyone else is doing. This logic is totally bankrupt. It never made any sense to mandate this, knowing what we know about it. And I can understand to some extent how people got swept up in the mania of it in the moment. But at least a very few, like Piers Morgan, for example, have admitted they were totally wrong to push those mandates. But I don't know how you can be this is just mental gymnastics. It's crazy that we're still hearing this in June of 2023. We're still hearing this obviously untrue logic that rests on things and notions that have just proven totally false. And they're just still parroting it. I just don't know. Maybe they just exist in an echo chamber where nobody wants to be smeared or hit with the label of anti-vax, which we're really not. So, but that's what happens in liberal circles. If you made any of these points, if you're anti-mandate, they say you're anti the thing, which is not the same thing. And I just think it's exhausting. I can't believe they're still pulling this crap, and I'm just amazed anyone's buying it.
Yeah, it's honestly infuriating. I had the vaccine and I still had a horrible case of COVID last year. It lasted almost a month, all said and done. And I've been talking recently about how I think I'm suffering pretty significant brain fog and like memory issues from it. So the vaccine certainly did not protect me. Maybe it kept me from being hospitalized or dying. Maybe, I don't know. But I really can't even imagine the fury I'd feel if I was somebody who lost my job over this or had it forced on them, because it certainly was, they put out a lot of actual disinformation around the vaccine, and they've never taken accountability for that or really done anything to clean up their mess. But I think this point that he's trying to make is one you hear people on the left say a good bit of, like, you're responsible for other people's health. And I completely reject it. I hate this notion of public health. No, you are responsible for your own individual health. You are responsible for making decisions that are best for you and for your family. And then you should have the freedom to live those out. You are not responsible for your neighbor's health. You're not responsible for your neighbor's medical bills. I really can't stand this idea. One, the science was never there. They tried to say this about masks. They tried to say it about vaccines. They tried to say it about lockdowns and staying home, that you're being unethical and you don't care about other people if you're not doing these things. The science didn't back that up ever, still doesn't. But on top of that, I would say, even if it did, I still think you as an individual have to worry about your own health, your own surroundings, your own things that are within the ability of your control, and move forward from there.
So
and I think this
let me push you a little bit. I think it doesn't apply to this situation, but there is an extent to which you're not free to directly endanger others. So a good example of this is HIV. If I am HIV positive and you're a potential partner and I don't tell you, and then we have unprotected relations, you could say, well, it's your responsibility to protect yourself and you should not have had unprotected relations with anyone. Well, no, I also knowingly put you in danger, right? Like, and that's not part of my freedom in any meaningful way, in my opinion. But
right, you're spreading a deadly disease knowingly and intentionally.
And some stuff falls in the gray.
But most diseases are not spread in that way. So with HIV, like, I agree, you're being unethical and you're not being forthcoming about something you have, and that you will spread pretty much 100% of the time if you have unprotected sex when you have it. So I agree with people in those circumstances being charged. But I think the vast majority of illnesses are not in that bucket. Like, I'll give another example. I was at a public pool a few days ago and there was a kid with ringworm in the pool. And I, therefore, was not getting in the pool because that can easily be spread through touch, through contact, even through water. But do I think that that person should be like banned from society and made to stay home because they have ringworm? No, I think I need to evaluate
the in the pool. Like, with a
maybe,
communicable disease.
But can you prove that that's going to spread, or am I being overly cautious? I don't know. But like, that's on me to be intentional and to protect myself. And I think if you follow their arguments to the extent of it, the reason they're pushing this so hard is they ultimately want to get to the point of you're responsible for other people's health, i.e. you have to pay for other people's health. That is the end goal of where they're trying to push towards. It's not really about these ethical questions so much as they want you to feel like you have a moral and ethical responsibility in order to make you pay for other people's poor health choices a lot of the times. And I think they use COVID to drive that agenda.